need to learn how to love, because initially when God created us, we are one that protect, to lead, and provide. That's where our mindset is. That's why we as men, we have to learn how to love our women. We don't know that because we are afraid of commitment. So those things have to be taught. Just like being a gentleman. The characteristics and nature of a gentleman have to be learned. These are learned characteristics. So don't be afraid when I talk about being a gentleman. Well, but it's still your choice. If you want to be a gentleman or not. I choose to be a gentleman because I want to set a standard in my life, so when people look at me, I don't want them to look up to me like I'm special. No, it's not about that. But I want to set a standard that somebody else, a younger person, or my grandson, or younger men that in this group, Brother Josh and Brother Dwight, can say, man, I want to model my life as that person. Man, he set a standard in life and he's living a good life, and that's what it's all about. Set an example for God, so others can recognize that and give glory to God. That way, I'm setting that type of example, and that's what it's all about. All right, let's continue on. The gentleman and his children. All right, the gentleman and his children. This is a storm growing again in the fathers. We talked about this on our broadcast last night about the father wound. All right. If that father wound is present in that child is going to grow up to be angry. He's going to grow up to be unruly. He's going to grow up to not having no morals. He's going to grow up because the father wound creates that type of atmosphere of disconnect. All right. You know, we talked about this last night because I think it was very powerful. Because what happens is, you know, a father can be in a home, but he could be mentally detached. He can be spiritually detached. He may come home, but is he there really physically with the children? All right, it is very important, and that father is very important to help and develop that young girl, his daughter, to show her love and show her when she gets in a relationship with a man, what a man should be and how that young man should treat her with respect, and how she should set a standard. If that young man can't come up to that standard, then she don't bother with him. Okay? And as well as a young man, that father is to teach him how to respect himself, how to respect others as a gentleman, and how he needs to handle himself, how to be polite, and how to be gracious. If those things are missing, then those children are going to have a very difficult time growing up. It's all going to be consumed about themselves and pleasing themselves and satisfying themselves. That's all it is. All right. Let's get down a little bit into the greatest generation characteristics and what we can learn from the greatest generation of men born from 1910 to 1929. Tom Brokaw, which is a news broadcaster from television, his 1998 book declared the greatest generation that suffered and persevered through America's Great Depression and then went on to fight World War II was America's greatest generation. What were the traits of these individuals that make them stand out in our history? Very good question. What can we take from that time and translate into our own lives today in the vastly different era in American history as we live right now? The common theme for those among the great generation seems to be what? Self-sacrifice. See, we talked about that earlier, about giving of yourselves and not worrying about yourself, but thinking about others. A lot of us today, we're not concerned about self-sacrifice anymore. Those men were willing to give their lives to save and sacrifice for others, either their family or their country. During World War II, during the Great Depression, they were always looking out for others. And that's where we miss it as men, so-called men today, because we don't understand the importance of self-sacrifice. Jesus came to this earth to serve others. He said, I came not to save those that were well, but those that were sick. All right, always worrying about the ones that are least fortunate than yourself. Jesus was worried about them. He ain't worried about the well ones. They can take care of themselves. But the ones that need help, the ones that need assistance, that's where that characteristic of a gentleman starts. Be willing to self-sacrifice yourself for others. That's the key right there. Good God from Zion. That's huge. That's very important there. All right, let's go on. Family working together in unison as a team. What did I just say about man and wife working as a team? All right, there's another characteristic. That man has to be willing to share with that woman what his vision vision is, I told you before, I always say this, Habakkuk 2:2 says, write the vision, make it plain, for them that read it shall run with it. See, a woman does not have a problem following a man if he has a vision. If he has a plan, he writes it down and shares it with that woman. She's willing to follow. All right? That's something that we as men, we don't do no more. We don't do that. We want to do our own thing. We'll tell our wives what we want to tell her, when we want to tell her, if we tell her. All right? But we expect her to be obedient. We want her to be obedient and follow us. Why should she follow you, man? Why? You have not given her anything or any inspiration, no encouragement. You haven't given her nothing of what you want, what your plan was for the family. That's another part of our lives where we miss that. There's no plan. There's no vision. We want to be the Lone Ranger. But you got to understand, we can't live this life alone. God did not create us as an island. He created woman to make us complete, not to compete with us. All right, I'm going to say that again. God created woman, men, to complete us, not to compete against us. All right? Wow. I hope you got that. So we got self-sacrifice, being what? A team player, all right? And marriage is bonded by deep commitment. That's another thing that we as lack as men nowadays. We have no commitment. We're very afraid of commitment. Very afraid of commitment. And why is that? We are afraid of commitment is because we don't know what commitment is. And we fear the unknown. We fear the unknown. So when we fear the unknown, we are very hesitant to put ourselves out there or expose ourselves to certain things that's going to make us look less than, quote unquote, as a man. All right? All right. So we got three things. We got self-sacrifice, being a team player, and making a deep commitment to our family, to our wives, or it could be our co-workers at work, or whatever relationship you may have. All right? All right, let's go on. Without the shallowness and narcissism means all about yourself, all right? It's so easy found today. We have made tremendous strides in our society since those days, especially regarding civil rights and technology, but we are losing what? A great deal of those core values that made this particular American generation worthy of greatness. Wow, that's huge. Every generation has its share of men who fully live the art of manliness. But there may never have been a generation when the ratio of honorable men to slackers was higher than the ones born between 1914 or 1910 and 1929. Those were the greatest men that ever lived. Praise be to God. These were the men that grew up during the Great Depression. They were the men who went off to fight in the big war, World War II. All right, and they're the men who came home from the war and built the nation of this Western world, which we know as the United States, into an economic powerhouse. Because why? Of their self-sacrifice. All right, they knew the meaning of sacrifice. There the word again, both in terms of material possessions, loyal. That's something that we as men nowadays aren't. We ain't loyal. You know, back then, you know, I told my father-in-law a while back. He had a situation, he was with a car insurance company, I think it was State Farm, for maybe 30, 40 years or whatever it was. And I told him, he's like 82 years old now, and he said he was paying this amount of money. I said, Dad, I think you're paying a little bit too much money here. For your age and for your driving record, you should be paying that kind of money. So he called up, and they called another insurance company, and they was willing to give him the same insurance for maybe $60, $70, $80 less than what he's paying now. And I told him, Dad, you got to stop being loyal to these people nowadays because they're not going to be loyal to you anymore. All right? Because all it is now is about money. It's all about money, power, and greed. Okay? That's how companies are. It's not like it was 60, 70, 80 years ago. It's not like that anymore. Those days are gone. It's all about money and power and greed. So I said that to say this is that we have to learn how to be loyal to one another. Another characteristic of a gentleman. Learn how to be loyal. Be a man of your word. All right? Get those characteristics and start working on yourself to be a gentleman. All right? Loyal. We got to be loyal to one another. We got to be patriotic, meaning about the country. Well, there's a lot of things going on in the country now. Now you know what's going on with a lot of the terrorists that's going on in the country. Got some other things going on in the country. So that's something that we got to work on because this country has really lost a lot of the honor that it had 50, 60, 70 years ago. It has lost it. It really has sold its soul, really. So that's something that we have to pray about. But that does not mean that you as a young adult or an older adult male cannot work on being a gentleman if you choose to be a gentleman. All right? All right, let's go on. There were the greatest generations. Let's go through a few things. Personal responsibility. What does that mean? Taking responsibility for your actions and the things that you have done. That's self-explanatory. It's personal responsibility. Self-sacrifice. Are you willing to give up yourself and be responsible for somebody else? That's a huge thing to ask. But that's a characteristic of a gentleman. All right? Number 2, humble natures. What does that mean? Humbleness and modesty aren't exactly buzzwords in our society. It's not. A lot of us are not humble. You know, we want to let everybody see who we are, what we doing, what we have. All right? That's not important. We got to learn how to humble ourselves before God. All right? That's how God honors us. You know, if you want somebody to see, you have already gotten your reward already. All right? Work ethic. A lot of that's a huge word. Work ethic. A lot of us as men, so-called men, want the women to take care of us. We lazy. We work for a little while to get what we want, and then we quit the job. A lot of us don't have the work ethic of those gentlemen born from 1910 to 1929. We don't have it. We just don't have it anymore. And that's one of the hardest things that a parent can instill into a child about a work ethic. But it has to be demonstrated to that child. If you work hard, then you can reap the benefits of that. But also think of others as you're doing that, because as you help others, God will help you and bless you. All right? So we got 3 things there so far. We got personal responsibility, taking care of yourself and others. All right? Humble natures, being humble about what you're doing and who you're doing it for. A good work ethic. All right, that's 3. Next is prudent savings. You have to learn how to save some money. Save some money. Don't spend your money on every little thing that that you want. All right, don't do that. Don't do that, because when a rainy day comes, you're gonna need that money. You're gonna need that money. All right. So that's some things I had to learn in my 53 years on this earth, that now I'm starting to save and learning how the importance of saving, because we as Black Americans or African Americans wasn't taught the principles of finances while we were growing up, so we don't understand that. Now the Caucasian, the white culture, they teach their children about finance, how to save, how to invest in the stock market, how to do certain things with finances so it can benefit their family. We weren't taught that. So those are things that we as Black Americans, we need to learn that by reading. Computers are very, you got computers everywhere. Everybody got a computer. Get on there and start learning about finances and how you can benefit your family and make your future much better than it is today. Don't go out and buy stuff that you can't afford. All right? Don't do stuff like that, because you will never ever get ahead in life. All right? All right, next, let's go to faithful commitment. We talked about that earlier, about committing yourself. Being committed to a cause or whatever it is. Be committed. You know, sometimes you're going to have to put yourself out there. You're going to have to. All right? But don't be ashamed. But if you in an atmosphere of other men that's willing to help you and share with you and talk to you, and y'all can share with one another, it's nothing wrong with that. All right? That's being a gentleman, not being afraid of another man. You know, we are here to help one another. All right? We are here to help one another. And that's something that we as men need to learn if we're going to take on the characteristics of a gentleman. All right? Number 6, embrace a challenge. A lot of us, if it's a challenge, if it's going to benefit us, then we're going to challenge it. But if it ain't going to benefit us, then we walk away. You know, we got to stop thinking about ourselves. I'm going to read this right here. The greater generation wasn't the greatest despite the challenge they faced, but because of them, today many men shirk challenge and difficult pursuits, believing that the easier life is, the happier it'll be. Want the easy way out. A lot of us as men, we want the easy way out. What's the easiest way I can get to the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow? See, the purpose of that is, you know, it's not so much about the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. It's the process and the things that you learn as you travel on that road to the pot, that pot at the end of the rainbow. We have to learn things. That's the part of the challenge. So you can take that and pass it on to the next generation. All right? And then 7, don't make life so complicated. We make life so hard. All right? We make it so hard. It's not a difficult thing to do. Taking care of yourself, being self-sacrificial, taking care of your family, loving each other, being committed. Those are easy things to do if you learn how to not put yourself first, but to put yourself second and put others first. That's what a gentleman does. What we talk about when we first started, being polite, being gracious. All right? What happened? What happened to the honor? What happened to the integrity? Two common courtesies and manners. There aren't any gentlemen around anymore. What happened to them? That's a question that we need. What happened to the gentlemen of yesteryear? That's something that we need to think about. I don't understand. You know, and that's part of what's missing today is accountability. We don't have accountability anymore. Nobody wants to be accountable for anything. We want to blame everybody for our troubles. We want to blame everybody for our problems, but we don't want to take accountability for our own shortcomings. We don't want to do that, do we? We don't want to do that. And that's a sad thing, because when we get into that position, we're not accountable, then we create a major, major problem. All right? Major problem. All right. Let's go on. Many men simply don't know their role in today's environment, and they hear mixed messages on what real men should and should not do. In one ear, they hear that chivalry is dead and that men don't know how to treat women anymore, which is true, because these are taught behaviors. But in the other ear, they hear, I don't need a man to open the door. And women are saying that. Why? You know, I was talking to a young lady, I think the other day, and I was asking her about, you know, why you don't want men to open the door for you. She said, well, I'm a feminist. Why has feminists taken over? Why? Because men have given up their position. You know, you want a woman, but you don't want to treat her like a woman. And I understand, men, that sometimes when women disrespect you or say certain things to you, it's because, see, we created the atmosphere for them to be like that. When we don't treat them right, when we don't treat them with respect, and then we dog them out, and we cheat on them and do other things with them, that's why they want to do their own thing. You know, and they don't respect you, so they don't respect them things. So that's why they say, I can do things on my own. I don't need a man for anything. That's why they have that attitude. We created that. We created the atmosphere. We are in control of our own destinies. We are in control of the atmosphere. We have to create that. A gentleman creates the atmosphere, okay? Respecting the woman, always opening the door, always being polite, always being gracious regardless. Now, I'm not saying that every woman's going to buy that, because this stuff been going on for years now, maybe 20, 30, 40 years now. All right? But we created that, and we have damaged it to a point where men are sitting back being lazy now, and the women are taking the forefront, and then we don't like that because they're getting all the opportunities. But we have allowed that to happen. It's our fault, because we didn't lead, we didn't protect, and we didn't provide. We didn't cast a vision. We didn't give them a plan to follow so they can follow us and help us to make these things work as a family. So we created that. All right? It's our fault, man. So now we got to work our way back. We got to work. It's gonna be a long road back, but we can do it individually. We can do it. We can turn our lives around. That's our job, to teach our young boys how to come up to be a gentleman. All right. We can win it back. I'm not gonna say you can win everybody, but you can win some back. All right. That's huge. That's very important. A man showing interest by treating a woman with value shouldn't be viewed as anti-feminist or somehow perpetrating inequality. He's showing he's interested with his actions, yet some women mistake men acting as gentlemen as men treating like victims. And that's not true, because see, we have treated women so bad for so long. Now that they're rising up and they don't want to be bothered with us, then we take offense to it. All right? Like I said before, we created that atmosphere. So now we have to work hard to change that around. All right? We got to change it around. An engaged woman can do all those things herself, but she can also offer a gentleman his place to show his interest. That's true. To those women who have it confused, a man can open the door for a woman, treat her to dinner, and to do traditionally things that make dating about courtship. It doesn't diminish her power. It doesn't. All right? Nor her independence. If it does, she might want to think about why a simple gesture of kindness or overture or romantic interest can render her inept and somehow unequal. So women also, you got to check yourself. If a man is willing to treat you with respect, and he's willing to treat you as a woman, accept that. Because there's very few men going to treat you like that. But if you find a gentleman that's willing to treat you like a woman and he's a gentleman, you got something special. It's few and far between that you're going to find a real gentleman that's going to care for you, that's going not to just want you for your body, all right? He's gonna accept you for what you are and what you have to offer here, and what's in your heart and what you're trying to do for your life, and to be there to support you If you have somebody like that, you have something very, very special. All right? Who says chivalry is dead? 20 things a gentleman does differently. Let's run through these things. One example of chivalry would be when the Titanic was sink.